What's good, y'all? J Boogie in full effect mode. Bun down is the sound. You know how we do. This is, of course, the Lounge Presents, and we're live streaming on Twitch right now. And of course, if you already follow us, pardon me, we are streaming all our episodes on Spotify as well. Today in the lounge space, it is with great pleasure that we bring to you the one and only B-Boy Flexum.
What's going on, yo?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
How's it going, man?
It's good, man. It's good. It's hot one. It's a hot one out here. I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's 40.
Dang. Okay, so 40, that's what in Celsius?
Well, 40 Celsius, and then it's 100 Fahrenheit.
God damn. Whoa, is it that bad right now?
It is hot, and I was just outside. Things are all wrapped up, so if you don't see any natural light in on me right now, it's because we're trying to keep the light out as much as possible in this house.
Yeah, you guys have been dealing with some serious heat down there, huh?
Yeah, it is crazy.
Damn.
It's like there's a whole excessive warning, and it's gonna be for a whole week.
Damn.
Yeah,
That's wild.
yeah. I mean, out there, in Winnipeg, it was just raining the last several days, and now it's
Yeah,
like good weather.
yeah. But you know our summers, man. Our summers can
Oh
get
yeah,
just as hot as you guys over there.
oh yeah. Mid 30s, high 30s sometimes. It's just
Yep.
man, that's
You know.
crazy. Yep.
Speaking of which, we always start off the show by asking our guests how they were first introduced to hip hop culture.
Oh gosh. Honestly, I can actually go back to the very beginning where I don't remember much, but parents were into the hip hop culture, just like a lot of other people. Sharing, branching off from hip hop to, old school, lowriders and, Ben Davis and Dickies, things like that.
Yeah.
But growing up, I think it was right when I got into really getting into breaking, grade 6. So that was like 1993.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. That's when I branched off breaking and then learned breaking was a part of, hip hop, and then broke into that history there. Really, I was a big fiend for all that knowledge. I wanted everything, anything movie related, any magazine related, and then music related, around that same time, that was a great era, golden era, basically how everybody calls it. But it was just really high on hip hop music, hip hop live culture, and all the elements that came and followed.
You bring up a really good point. And having lived through it, we can attest to this.
Mm-hmm.
It was a time where you really honestly did fiend for anything and everything you can get your hands on.
Yes, sir.
Especially if it wasn't readily available to you. Like up here in Winnipeg, we got what we could via basically people going down the states and bringing stuff up.
Yeah. People had to get out and about, right? As like that was the same thing. I mean, especially here in California, when I first got back into it, or when I actually took it upon myself to be interested in it, not rather just living a part of family, being a child, didn't know too much of it, but I enjoyed it. So me getting really into it, where my family was located, we had to get out of these little towns and go to the city. We had to go to San Francisco. We had to go to LA, to San Diego, and we would bring that back here. And at that same time, everybody that couldn't get out and about would actually be hands-on. They're like, touching what you brought back, or picking your brain, starting conversations. You're holding basically storytelling hour at lunch hour at school. Oh, we did this. This person was there. Oh my gosh, what was it wearing? What was it like? I was like, it goes on and on. But I definitely, Winnipeg being the same, you needed somebody to take that role and bring back all that history or that knowledge.
Yeah, for real. I can definitely attest to. I mean, there's mad connections between Winnipeg and California. Like, and I mean mad connections from time. You know what I mean? Just because of familial ties, right?
Yep.
So I can easily go back and remember a lot of the mixtapes that I was getting was coming from Cali. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so bringing them to school, so we could sesh with our little cardboard and be like, what is that? Yo, this is a mixtape from LA, man. Yo, check this out. You know what I mean? And being able to share that, the excitement of being able to share that.
Oh, I know, especially in that time too, dubbing music or dubbing a cassette or a CD.
Tape
Gosh, it was
trading
like, let me
all
take
day.
it back. Exactly. It just go one copy after another, and then some copies didn't come out quite right, but it was good enough. You were happy with it, and it served its purpose. And then you'd make that collection, and it'd keep going. It's like, next time you grab something and let me dub it, and it just would go in circles.
Yeah, man, that tape trading shit was real. Damn. So let me ask you this: when you say here, where is here?
Here right now is in the Central Valley. This is where Style Elements, Floor Rockers,
Yes.
Not even LA, Soul Control. A lot of the people right here. This is where that area. Where I'm located right now, I'm about 30 minutes from where Style Elements first came from Modesto, California.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So let me ask you this. You obviously have a tie with Canada, specifically Winnipeg. What is that tie?
Oh, that tie, I mean, that tie first originally started with Bob. Bob being, the first person I went through, the first person that, I connected with, who got me out and got me my first teaching job, and it just continued on from there, became really close. And little by little, I just going back, talking about this recently, some of the folks that actually took my first workshop are now a lot of great friends, people I work with, some people I collab with, to now even sitting down, sharing stories, like anything we can adventure on and go back. It was, 10 years ago. So that was a long time. So that was the first tie that I actually had with Winnipeg specifically. Before that, in Canada, I was selected for Red Bull King of the Ring. That was the first ever I've ever gone to Canada. And again, that was connected through Red Bull. I had Zulu Gremlin, who was a teacher of mine, and gave me my first break along with so many other people that were there. Gosh, I mean, again, back's hurting thinking of like how long ago that was, but it was great times, great connections, great ties.
We always have time to show love to Boob on this space and this platform, man.
I always love that. I always forget that everybody calls him that.
Yeah, man. Brethren from time, and he's done so much for breaking in Canada.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Definitely an important pillar. So we always got time to show that guy love.
Even if it's a quick. I mean, that's where it passes down, and people will share that in the same thing. You go back and you listen or you watch, and everybody has a point in their whole time with the culture or with the elements that he pops up right then and there. Yeah, and you're just like, I've heard that name. I keep hearing his name. It's just going in a circle. It's like, well, hey, he's there. You just, might not have met him yet, but you'll get there.
Exactly. Let me ask you this. When it comes to this culture, we all had a moment, a very specific moment in time when we knew that from that point forward, this was for life. You know what I'm saying? We all had that moment. Now, for you, what was it about the culture that drew you in?
Gosh, I mean, it was always breaking first off. Once breaking is what always brought me in. I was just, amazed. I gave up, sports basically. I was really good. I was, in track and cross country, and my friend was really, and the same thing. We were great at sports, and I catch him one day and spinning on his back on cardboard, but on grass. Not on
grass.
On grass. And it's just, one of those things where you're just like, I didn't understand it. He probably didn't understand it. He just thought, cushion, soft. Once I saw the backspin, I was hooked. I didn't know that was possible. As much as I've caught something here and there, maybe footwork, but something spinning like that, and you're on the ground leveled, I just thought this was amazing. And from that moment, I just wanted to continue. And there was more things that went with it. Shortly after that, it was Graph. Graph took me even the same way breaking did. I saw letters that I didn't comprehend, and I couldn't make out. And to me, the enigma of it, of like, wait, what is that upside? How is that? It just blew me away. And I took it. I took it and ran with it. I was like, I want to do the same thing. And at that same point, went with it, stuck with it, didn't excel. I was so frustrated where people made it seem so seamless, probably same way I did with breaking, but people in my circle made graph that same way. And I was like, I'm not picking up, never gave up. You know, I came up with my name, I wrote my alphabet and went with there, learned, you know, the comfortability of holding a can to using your different tips. And again, I was okay, you know, but I loved it. I could have sat there. I could have passed cans. I could have passed markers. I could have done something, a scribe. And I thought, wow, you know, there's more ways. There's more than one way to get your graph out. And I just kept, it was like, you know, an arsenal of breaking moves. I was just like, wait, see how you do it? Like, this is how you do it on glass. This is how you do it on a window. This is how you do it over here. You use these stickers from, you know, the mailbox. You know, you would go take these things and you were like, what? He's like, I'm over here making stickers and you're using the post post things and you're writing on that and for free. And you're like, just don't let them catch you. Yeah. And it was a learning experience and it was fun because that was the same thing. And then, you know, rapping came right after that. You know, having the gift of gab was like another thing where I was just like, I can't do it, but I want to try it. Sitting in car trips, road trips, whatever it was, and, you know, trying to freestyle. That was it. I wasn't writing anything. No one was ever writing anything. Yeah, we're just trying to make things rhyme. And, you know, as much as we laughed, it brought a lot of people I didn't think I was going to be friends with or have, you know, a lot of things in common with. And it opened my eyes to a whole nother world of friends, family, which were all great, you know, and none of them, everybody stuck out. Everybody was there. It was like having, you know, like your own sports team, but, you know, without that athletic part of it, because it was all artistic.
Yep. No, I hear you on that. I think I know the answer to what I'm going to ask you now, but when you were, you know, really starting to discover the culture, were the homies around you concurrently discovering the culture at the same time, or are you kind of the odd person out?
It was more of that. I was never satisfied. I was never full off of any of the elements and the community, the culture, everything. I was never, a lot of people were, I would say, content or happy where it was at. They're like, oh, I learned this and that's where I'm going to go. I was like, well, what if this leads to something else? I was always striving to see what was more. And, you know, a lot of people, a lot of friends wanted to stay like this when I wanted to stay going up, you know, like the moon, not the clouds. I wanted to go to the moon. Like, I know there was more, and everybody that I was going to had something more to share. You know, I would sit in circles. I would go to, you know, before they were proper panels, I would go to, you know, those circles of people, those elders and people that had the knowledge, and I wanted more because everybody always had something else to add. Like when you used to have the mixtape, you're like, it would feature another DJ. And I was like, well, I want to hear his stuff. Like, I know he doesn't have a mixtape. Well, he's just, you know, so I was like, well, his little section right there was, man, it was fire. I want to hear more of this person. I got to find this person. Yeah. So before Google, internet, you know, all the searches, you really had to dig, just like DJs do today. You go to a record shop, you go anywhere, they honestly enjoy digging because there's gems everywhere. That's how I was with the culture. There was always more. And it's like, I could never fill my cup. Well, a lot of people were like, I know I'm cool. Like I had a little size, like I have a sip, I'm good. And as much as they were good, they were still, I would say, thrilled as I was, but I just wanted more in the cup, like knowledge. And I, you know, that becoming a huge part that I learned later down the line, that was a part of the culture and our elements, you know, the knowledge, the history of, you know, everything that came with it, you know. It wasn't really pushed on early on, I would say in the early 90s when I started, but it was growing, and it was people that were mutual, that felt the same way I did, that wanted to keep feeding themselves more about this culture. Because to this day, things are that I should have known when I was in the 90s, early 2000s, I'm learning today. Like it's crazy. So I was definitely the odd one out in that sense. I was definitely, I always wanted more, and at the same time, I was just branching off and creating a character I didn't know I was creating.
No, say word. I hear you all day, man. Makes total sense. Makes total sense. I'm curious. I know you've got an athletic background. I'm curious. Did you have any sort of dance background before you discovered breaking?
Well, dance background. My sister was my younger sister. She actually got me into dancing. She was really big in '90s hip hop. Like she would, fly girl stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is your little sister. And you don't do what she does. I was like, no, she was the proper one when we were in elementary and middle school. Everybody knew my sister. It wasn't until I was in grade 6 and she was in grade 5 where I was like, all right, I'm gonna try breaking. I'll try dancing. I can get down. But I was always goofing. She was thriving. Like she was teaching people in grade 8, hanging out with high school. I was like, how are you more? What? I'm older. So that's when I started with that. I got into hip hop at that same time. And when I got to high school, I actually got into ballet and jazz for a year or so.
Okay. Nice. Do you mind if I ask what your background is?
Background and
where your parents came
from?
Oh,
well, both of my parents are here from Northern California.
Okay.
We're indigenous and Chicano.
Okay. So when your family saw that you were starting to take this a little more seriously, how did they react to all the time you're putting into it?
Oh gosh, they reacted the same way all through from the beginning to basically after high school. They really were not okay with it.
There you go.
I mean, it's a lot. You're young and you're supposed to be hitting the books. Preparing, getting some kind of job training in, whatnot. Mm-hmm. I ran with dancing. I couldn't turn back as much. I mean, I stayed in some sports. I lettered in wrestling in high school. And so I had that. I was pretty good at the same time, just to, you had to have good grades to actually be in sports. So, I was doing a balance of everything that I was possibly supposed to be doing. Right. But once high school was done, grandfather, Lolo, he got a hold of me quick and was just like, you haven't had a job. I was like, well, I had a job in high school. I was like, during my years here, I actually started in the fast food. I worked at Panda Express, something like that, just to make, a couple hundred. Yeah. But it wasn't the real world working that he was suggesting. So I moved in with him. I quit dancing for a good 4 or 5 years. And I really took on the challenge of being an adult right after high school. Like, I knew how to do a job and not, commit myself to a proper job and, get my car, do, get my own place, do everything. Grandfather, really took me under his wing and let me excel at it. He was, once he knew I could survive on my own. But then at the same time, your family gets to a certain point where you're an adult and you start to make more sense because you know how to communicate what your passion is without having to sound like a young, naive child that they perceive you as, where like you don't know what you're talking about. It's like they're hearing a 14-year-old talk about love. You don't know love. You're so it's the same thing where it's just you're sitting there, and at the same time I'm just like, okay, all right. So when I got in, older, grandfather paid attention, was like, when you're dancing, I could totally see this different happiness in you. Like I could see you, it's more of like you shake my hand, you give me a hug, a bless. And but it's coming from my grandson, but he's a man now. And I'm kind of missing my grandson, the passionate, artistic young man, So he really gave me the the kick in the butt and was like, you know what, you know how to take care of yourself, you know how to go back to this. Why don't you go back into dancing? It's like, go move back to California and see what if this is what you want to do. Now you have choices now, rather than this is all I know. So I knew right that, and then I came back, and it was family understood.
Hey.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure the understanding wasn't too difficult once your name started to blow up a little bit.
Yeah.
He's very humble, but I'm sure once the family starts to see this name up in lights, they realize, okay, all right, go ahead, do you, man, do you? No, that's dope, man. I love hearing that. See, I ask a lot of the same questions of guests, because one thing that we try to show here on this podcast is, man, we have so much more similarities than we have differences in this culture, regardless of which way you look, type of thing. But if you participate in this culture, and you've been participating in this culture from time, or whether, even if it's for, you just discovered this culture, everyone has the same entry point. It's very similar. It's not exactly the same across the board, but it's close enough. We all discover the culture in the same way. We all fall in love with the culture in the same way. And a lot of times we all come from immigrant families who don't understand our love of the culture.
Absolutely. Yep. You nailed it. That's one thing you can actually, just like you said, you can rub shoulders and just laugh, bump an elbow, give a big high five. You throw that head back laughing, because it's so relatable. Like, you get it.
For real. And I think it's really important to continue to show just how similar we all are, especially in this culture, man, because for most of us, entry point was very similar. The falling in love with the culture, very similar.
Yep.
And if you participate in the culture, or even if you just love watching the culture grow, man, we're all connected.
Yeah.
We all want the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I mean, without any other necessary add-ons that that divide the culture, because everybody has a lot of. Let's say everybody would approach things a little differently.
Yeah.
Involving the culture, but bottom line, it's one thing that we all agree on, that we love being a part of. Without that extra add-ons that today, in the last several years, that have brought to the table of conversation, where at the same time, I love just how you said it right there, something that's brought us together that we love. And I mean, that's right, you don't need to add any more outside of that, because that's what it is all about right there. You don't need to disagree about anything else and have
straight
debates
up, man.
and stuff.
Straight up.
Like, we have to get in that. Would you love it? It's like, oh, I love this culture. That's all we have to do.
That's it.
That's all we have to focus on right there.
Exactly. One example of creating infrastructure in this culture is something that you're involved with, obviously, which is the Manitoba Breaking Alliance. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the NBA, something that we, honestly, without speaking directly about the NBA, the whole goal that that is behind the thing, because at the same time, when NBA dropped, I had no clue. NBA dropped, and I was like, what is this? What's going on? And there was like Manitoba Breaking Alliance. I was like, oh, this is what we were talking about. Oh, you guys named it. Okay, all right. I was like, see the other working parts of the machine that you're like, okay, okay, got it. But NBA itself is something that really wanted to project that all across Canada was, working on something towards the Youth Olympics or the Olympics in general. Like 2024, we got the adults going out there. We got a Canadian representative. We have an American. We have Turtle Island in general that has representatives, and it's amazing. Again, something that I've been focusing on for some time now is the next generation. Like us being younger, especially I can remember in the 90s, the people that helped me. a lot of that in Manitoba we don't have. So I wanted to jump and leapfrog this thing and bring it back to where it needs to be, because we have the numbers, we have the interest, we have the beautiful community that we have already, especially even with our younger adults from our 20 to early 30s, where they're there, they can be utilized, they can they want to be a part as much as it was before. There's that going back and reminiscing. Why do we need to reminisce when we can make that happen now? So MBA is actually collaborating with a lot of sponsors, a lot of the people that are in Manitoba, to bring events, especially aiming towards our youth. The adults still get their shine, but we really want to capitalize on protecting, educating, and supplying them with as much knowledge as possible, so the kids can actually grow. We nourish everything else. We send them to school. Why don't we have something similar like that for our dance?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, and then it's not like something where it's somebody young like other parts of any country, trying to hold up the youth, and where again, this is where you need your elders, you need your OGs, you need your historians, that people have done this and worked that and are still doing and trying to create these things, opportunities for the youth. And that's where I'm pleased, and I go beyond. And as you could tell, I'm very excited speaking about it, because it always sounds like a pitch, but it's from the bottom of my heart, and I see it, and I work with the parents. The kids are amazing. They show respect. They listen. They're hungry. I mean, we have playtime, we have everything. But MBA caters to our youth in Manitoba, giving them all the things that we've had and more.
Yes.
Try to bridge that gap between the 80s of when it started, where it's it's kind of like you're in school and it's like, I'm paying attention, but that I was like, well, it's thrilling to me. You can see it when I talk about the 80s, the late 70s, when 79, and this guy came out and did this. Well, I could do that. Well, it's like, no, but it's never been done. They were creating it. Oh, okay. What's next? And still paying attention, but at the same time, you're breaking it down, and it's thrilling because you get different reactions. But NBA being a collaboration of me, Mav1, and Majo at the moment, and then Bob over being, Boom still being over there involved as well. And collaborating with other parts of Canada for the breaking federation that they have. So, there's other coordinators that work on events and bring these same opportunities to their youth in their treaty or their territory. And we're just trying to play catch up because it's our first year. And as much as we've been doing this and we're behind, I think we're off to a great start. And
you have all the time in the world, man. You got all the time in the world.
Yep, we do. I just want, and that's why I'm a big kicker too, because I was like, oh my gosh, so it started off with one student, and that one student is now 25, and 25 being, in my early 40s, the energy has to be there, and I need to be able to move. So I got it back into, watching what I eat, getting back into fitness. And I'm just like, you guys ain't running circles around me. I mean,
right.
And that's the funny part, because I see that and I'm just thinking, what, if there was somebody younger than me that wanted to take lead and try, there's a lot of things that, somebody younger need to possess, just like anything else. Like, the teachings, the breakdown, how to understand your student and where to go from there. Like, we all wanted to learn how to fly. I saw it spinning on my head and I thought it was going to be done after that. And, nope, got to learn how to take care of the kids. And I think NBA does a great job of that.
Definitely. In fact, the entire push that exploded in the country once the breaking category was announced for Paris, and watching just each province galvanize, and then seeing all the, you know what I mean? Like everyone just said, all right, it's time for us to focus up. Let's do this. And then you watched every single one pop up in each province, and you're like, fuck yes, goddamn yes. Because I personally was extremely excited with finally getting breaking into the Olympics, because it really gives kids something to shoot for that is honestly within their grasp. It's not some far off, you know what I mean?
No,
This is
absolutely.
something they could actually reach for. They just got to
Yep.
work for it. You know
Yep.
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
that's how you heard about it too. The Olympics was the Olympics. It's the grand championship where you just sit back.
Yeah.
You know, I think if we had that back then, you know, breaking wise, I'm like, you know what, I can be an Olympic champion or an athlete.
Right?
You add that to the criteria where you come back from a family or a culture that really wants you to excel. I
Yeah.
think because, you know, you hear just dancing, but you don't hear like, you know, like MD, doctor. You got to have those kind of that title. So if
Yeah.
you, instead of breaking, you know, and I was an Olympic athlete, like you can
Yeah.
see the possibilities are endless right
Yeah.
there. Not only will you just go down in history, you're getting the opportunities that a typical dancer wouldn't get. You're like, you hear the
Yep.
Olympic, you think commercials, you think, you know, sponsorships, you think outreaches, you think of so many different things that you can still jump into because the
Yes.
connections are met for so long, decades and decades of people working towards helping those athletes to stay involved with their community. You're not just taking
Exactly.
somebody that dances on a cardboard anymore, or is someone that's
Exactly.
just spinning in the air. No, you're looking at a role model. You're looking at
Yeah.
somebody that is a shining star in your own community. You're like, this
Exactly.
is what you want to grow up to be. You know, you have your doctors, and as much as we don't, you know, celebrate people in that field, nurses and everybody else that does so much for everybody that don't
Hmm.
go, you know, as viewed as, you know, how we would look at, you know, as a superstar.
Yeah.
Now that families can look back, you know, Tita Tito, anybody else is like, oh, he's an Olympic athlete.
Yeah.
What? It's like you
Exactly.
throw up that Filipino flag, you throw up whatever else, you know, you
Yeah.
got all those things, and you're just like, you're so proud to
Yep.
represent. You're like, you're representing all of our people. You're representing our city. You're representing our last name. You
Straight
know,
up.
it goes way above and beyond.
Oh yeah. It goes so much deeper. Most stuff. Most stuff. So one of those opportunities is coming up specifically this weekend.
Yeah.
Quality Control 2. Why don't you tell us about
Ooh.
Quality Control 2?
Quality Control 2 is going down this Saturday at Graffiti Art Gallery. One of our sponsors, shout out to them, holding space for us, allowing us to grow as a community. As always, been there from since day one. We have a one-on-one adult. We have a one-on-one youth. One-on-one adult getting the grand prize of $400. And then a grand prize for the one-on-one youth is now being broken down because one of our biggest sponsors, the Richardson Foundation, actually is flying our winner and one of their parents to Toronto for the national finals.
Oh,
Woo! Yeah, so I'm thrilled we got that news today, and I'm
yeah.
thrilled that I just sent out emails to all the parents. I was like, I don't know what was on it.
Oh my God.
In waiting for getting the okay, and yeah, they get to represent Manitoba. So outside of that flight for the parents, there is now a first and second prize, 150 for the first, so they can have a little spending cash for their trip in July on the 12th to Ontario, and second prize gets $50. So, you know, you're being 7, 8 years old, whatever, $50, $150, you know, that's a lot of Pokemon cards.
Yo, man, big salute to Richardson Foundation
Yes,
for investing in this because that's big.
it's huge.
I mean, for the Richardson Foundation to come into, man, y'all know who the Richardson Foundation is? Bam. Okay. That's all I'm gonna say. You Google it and you'll figure that out.
Yes, get
Okay.
your
Google
background,
it.
because I did the same thing. Everybody was talking to
That's
me, and they were
big.
saying, Miss Richardson wants to have a sit down, you know, let's talk. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
everybody like, is that the Richardson we know? I was like, wait, what? They're like, the airport, you know how the name is? He's
Yeah.
all around the city. I was like, oh, what? I was just went in. I was like, I got to do my research. So yes, big thank you to that foundation. And
Yeah.
him himself. It's just been a great, and him helping out towards our youth, because the main goal for our events going down is for the 2026 Youth Olympics. Now that we're having the adults, the Youth Olympics still is going to have breaking as a category for our kids.
Yep.
Now, in order to do that, you need to win competitions and not win competitions. What I mean by that is, there's points given to you throughout your bracket. So let's say you make your top 16. There's points given for that. You get it to top 8. There's points for that. You only get to semis. There's points for that. If you win it, there's definitely points for that. And from now all the way to 2026, which just gives us, close to under 2 years to prepare for that, to rack up those points, to be part of Team Canada.
Yeah.
And I think that's right there, starting out at a younger age for our youth, rather than, parents questioning like, what are we going for? It's like, well, you have kids in sports and stuff like that all the way. Kids breaking to represent their country, to get back into the Olympics. Like there's a goal now that Olympic athletes start when they're they can walk. Parents have that goal, and that'd be awesome to open that door early now for Manitobans to be involved, take pride in, and get a ball rolling.
Definitely. And I can't not mention how much I love how training now is taken so seriously. You know what I'm saying? And the example that it's setting for kids too. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe they never took, health and wellness that seriously before they started breaking. But now that they're into breaking, they realize, oh, okay, so I gotta be about my nutrition. Okay, bet. Okay, so I also gotta be my conditioning. Okay, bet. I love that. You know what I'm saying? It gets people moving. God
I mean, I used to see memes where like, Shaolin, monks going out with these kids, and you see kids practically in tears, and people are like, oh my gosh, that's brutal. It's like, no, he's working towards something. He's working hard. Even though early on, your emotions are not quite, you don't understand them, but the kids early on getting that experience, it better prepares them. I mean, all of us, if I could have used that, I mean, I think I would have lost better in my emotional states. I got really emotional when I lost, and no one educated me on that and how I should feel. Or now they got a proper coach telling them like, hey, we're going in with the hopes to win, but we're leaving with the experience that we are here. Exactly. So on that whole thing, they don't know what traveling's like, outside of it. You get that with your teams, your basketball team. You travel as a group. Breaking where it's at now, you're like, I can break anywhere I want. I'm doing it for fun, but I love it. And I just, wow, I'm eating better. What are these snacks? And then you go into like, why am I stretching as much as I am? I'm like, I'm already flexible. We need to keep you there. So there's a lot of lessons to go into it early on. So it is quite the experience.
There you go, man. There you go. Well, yo, man, I really want to thank you for spending some time with us in the lounge space, telling us about NBA, obviously letting us know about what's going on with Quality Control 2, because that is this weekend, and of course, sharing your journey in this culture. And I want you to know, man, I don't want this to be the last time we get you on, man. I want you to know it's an open door policy.
Yes, sir.
Things guaning, come on here. We want to help you get that word out.
Perfect. I would love to come back. I love the experience. Thank you guys for hearing me out and watching. And yes, next time, another
Saturday, Quality Control 2.
1 to 5.
Graffiti Where can Gallery. They get tickets? Where can they get tickets?
You can come in. It's going to be $10 for spectators, $5 for adults that are competing, and 17 and under. Guess what? You're free.
There you go. There you go. But and before we close up shop, I think you should mention some of the names that will be a part of the battle on Saturday.
Oh, some of the names. I mean, youth wise, we got Alpha X, we got J Dubs, we have B Girl Misa, we have Jay. We have Nico Suave. We got Vitamin C. We got. I mean, the list goes on. As adults, we got Marichek. We got Jay Rec. Woo! We got we got our judges, dude. Jay Bugs coming out from Toronto. It's been goodness. So we even got local heroes as well that you guys are gonna know right off the bat. We have DJs Mav One and Majo Juice. Juice. Yes, and then you got a lot of local talent coming through. Like Dana, Jeannie, Brett, you have a lot of people coming through. Mookie, you got people that are dancing, before I even got there, that are going to be there. So, enjoy yourselves. It's going to be a great time.
It's like that. And it's on Saturday. Quality Control 2. Make sure you check this out. If you are in any way interested, and I'm just speaking for people that might not necessarily step out to something like this, if you have any sort of interest in the culture via rap or DJing, what have you, and you don't normally attend a b-boy event, why don't you give this a try, man? Because you know what, you're participating in the culture. This is a very, very active and strong part of the culture, and you just might come out of it learning something. That's all I'm gonna
Absolutely.
say.
You might fall in love. You might not
That's
go
all I'm
away.
gonna say.